This is a podcast about understanding counseling and how it works in everyday life. In this episode, we'll explore why some seem to carry more emotional load than others, often without realizing how it happened. In most environments, emotional load is not distributed evenly. Some people naturally become the ones who hold things together. They notice what needs doing, they anticipate problems, they respond quickly. Over time, they become reliable. Reliability, however, comes with a cost. People who carry more emotional load are often the ones others turn to. They're trusted, they're capable, they're seen as steady because they rarely drop the ball. More responsibility quietly lands with them. What makes this difficult is that emotional load is rarely acknowledged. It doesn't come with a title or a role. There's no clear moment where it's handed over. It accumulates through small interactions and unspoken expectations. You might recognize this in group settings. One person keeps conversations flowing, another remembers what was decided, someone else checks in when things feel off. These contributions matter, but they also require constant attention. Over time, the person carrying this load may stop noticing it themselves. It becomes normal. They adapt to it. Only later does the cost show up, often as tiredness, irritability, or a quiet sense of resentment that feels hard to justify. This pattern often begins early. People who learn to be attuned, responsible, or self sufficient tend to continue those roles into adulthood. Not because they choose them consciously, but because they work. Things run more smoothly when they step in. Earlier in the podcast, we talked about boundaries and emotional regulation. This is another place those ideas connect. When someone consistently carries more emotional load, regulation has to work harder to maintain balance. Over time, that effort becomes draining. It's also common for people who carry more emotional load to minimize their own experience. They compare themselves to others and conclude that they shouldn't feel tired. After all, nothing dramatic is happening, but emotional load doesn't require drama to be heavy. You may notice this dynamic most clearly when you stop carrying the load, when you don't follow up, when you don't manage the mood, when you don't step in. The discomfort that follows can be revealing. It shows how much was being held quietly. Counseling helps people see these patterns by making them visible. When emotional load is named, it becomes something that can be understood rather than endured. The aim is not to offload everything, but to make choices rather than defaulting into responsibility. Over time, people often realize that carrying less emotional load doesn't mean caring less. It means caring more sustainably. Relationships and environments adjust when responsibility is shared more evenly. Understanding why some people may carry more emotional load helps explain exhaustion that doesn't seem to have a clear cause. It reframes tiredness as a response to long term responsibility rather than a lack of resilience. In the next episode, we'll explore how emotional load moves between people in relationships and why roles become fixed even when circumstances change. That's the scope of this episode. Each episode focuses on one specific theme, and this was it. We'll leave it here and continue from here in the next episode.